All right, I'm gonna do a thing now, and this is just an idea that popped into my head the other day. So I'm gonna show you these four people. So these four people are Chadminton, Sally, Gilbert, and Little Polly. Now, Chadminton, his real name is Chad. He's a strapping buck of a fella. He's got look at those muscles he's got. I drew his muscles on. Good muscles. He's good at all the sports. They call him Chadminton because he's like legendary Chad at badminton, but also his name is Chad. Um, Unfortunately for Chadminton, he comes from a poor family. But he's a likable fella. In fact, he's so likable. He formed a group that was originally called the Cool Dudes Club. Now, I'm being silly because once upon a time I was a member of a group called the Cool Dudes and Dudettes Club. A friend of mine's little sister who is really ADHD, like wow ADHD, had created the Cool Dudes and Dudettes Club so that she could have her older brother and his friends were all part of the Cool Dudes and Dudettes Club, and it was part of how she coped with being socially isolated from being really bad ADHD, like really struggled with ADHD. Anyway, so Chadminton created the Cool Dudes Club. Sally, well, Sally's just cute as a gosh darn button. She comes from a wealthy family. She's a good dresser. And she's actually the reason that the Cool Dudes Club became the Cool Dudes and Dudettes Club. Gilbert, Gilbert is super smart. You can tell because he has glasses, and that's not a caricature at all. Gilbert is super smart, kind of funny looking, and he really doesn't know how to be a cool dude. He's definitely not a member of the Cool Dudes and Dudettes Club. But his dad owns Mega Corporation X, and therefore Gilbert has the cash. And then we have Little Polly. Little Polly is entirely based on me. He's a pretty average kid. He's funny, but not like, oh my God, you're so funny, we should hang out funny. He's never going to be a member of the Cool Dudes and Dudettes clubs, but like they'll allow him to hang out. He's like an affiliate or an associate of the Cool Dudes and Dudettes club. Um, and, you know, he gets through, he gets by, right? I can really relate to our good friend Little Polly. So the reason I bring this up, people seem to have a real hard time figuring out the concept of privilege. So Chadminton, we would say Chadminton is privileged. He's super good. He's super healthy. He's stupid. I said stupid. He's super. I said yeah. He's super. Uh, he's handsome. He's got athletic skill. Doesn't have any money. So that's an area where he is not privileged, but he still has privilege. Sally has a whole pile of privilege. She's got money, she's cute as a button, all that kind of stuff. But Sally has something that makes her unprivileged, and that is a vagina. Gilbert is super smart, which should be considered a privilege, and in a lot of scenarios is, but privilege isn't applied universally across the board. Otherwise, the Cool Dudes and Dudettes Club would automatically have a rule that said you had to be a certain amount of smart to be cool. And Little Polly, well, Little Polly just you know doesn't have a whole lot of privilege. We can actually talk about privilege and say that, for example, I as a white male have many privileges, despite that there are areas where I don't have privilege. It's like a thing that stacks on top of each other, depending on circumstances, depending on all these things. My privilege may or may not weigh in on a conversation or a situation. For example, I have many times, despite many privileges available and afforded to me, I have been in situations where I have been the lesser because I was at work with people who make more money than me, or dealing with people who feel smarter or better or whatever than me. And I have been less privileged in those moments and have felt that. That feeling part is the whole point. Where we fail when we talk about privilege is we think about those times where we don't have privilege and we go, ah, but Jim, you say that I have privilege, and yet in this one instance I did not, therefore you're wrong. So what I'm saying is privilege ain't that easy. Privilege is essentially like a cumulative value of non things and social constructs that builds up to define people. So, you know what? Chadminton, in my obvious example, Chadminton probably has the most privilege. He's got a willy, he's got muscles, he's handsome. Those are all things that are privilege. In a situation where they were going for a job in a tech company, for example, Gilbert might very well do a lot better. That doesn't mean Chadminton isn't privileged. It means in this scenario, Chadminton isn't privileged. And I feel like that's just the easiest way to explain privilege. It just dawned on me earlier this week, and I was like, I should draw a picture of people with different qualities. Um, Chad has arm boobs. Oh, I am Canadian. That's just mean. Well, it's true, but he's got the big muscles. He's like ripped and stuff. Chad couldn't afford a badminton net, so when he was young, he used the laundry line to practice. Exactly. I used to play tennis across the street from the tennis courts like across the street from my parents' house. There was tennis courts, and they were only for the members of the community association, and we were too poor to be members of the community association, so we didn't have toe tags that showed us to be members of the community association. So we played tennis against the fucking wall of the school that was attached to where the tennis courts were, and we were fine. We were always jealous because they had privilege that we didn't have, despite being all kinds of privileged. But a good example, yes. Chad couldn't afford a badminton net, so he used the laundry line. Sally's just gosh darn cute as a button. Words you'll never hear in real life. You know what? I would totally say that in real life. IRL. I would absolutely be like, oh, I am Canadian, as cute as a button. Gling. Hey, Polly, we tolerate you. Yes, that was actually the soundtrack of my childhood. We tolerate you. As I got older, I remember some of the cool kids in the Cool Dudes and Dudettes Club that was not really called that, but not the one that I was in. Some of the cool kids started to realize that I was actually kind of neat and kind of all right. And they started inviting me and a couple of my friends to what they called gully parties, because I lived near a gully and they used to party in the gully. And they started to invite us. And we actually had like a little meeting. And this stands out. Like I was in grade 8 or 9. Grade 9. This stands out substantially in my brain because we had this little meeting. Me, myself, Wes, and Eric. And Eric really wanted us to belong. Really wanted us to belong. Eric would eventually become one of the cool kids, would totally cut us off from his life, and his life just went to shit. So, Eric, if you're watching, sorry about your life, bud. Wes was unsure. He kind of, the idea of hanging out with the cool kids wasn't really a big draw, but he wanted to not be a loser. He wanted to not be a pariah, and maybe it'd be all right. And I took the perspective of, you know what, these people have shit on us for so fucking long. Who cares if they think we're cool? I don't want to hang out with them. We do just fine hanging out by ourselves. We had this conversation, and that's what we came up with, was we weren't going to go to the gully parties. And Wes and I didn't. Eric did, and that started the descent into his life going to hell. Sally has a what? Sally has a vagina. Also known as the hoo-hoo or lady bits. But gym privileges are earned. Most privileges are not earned, I would argue. And I know you're being facetious. A lot of people feel that their privilege is earned. But a lot of the times that ain't the case. Like if you come from money and you earn money, you may be completely a self-starter, but you probably had a lot of help along the way, even if it's just from connections. My father and mother were both public school teachers. So there was nothing they could do to give me a leg up on other people in terms of summer jobs or whatever. Whereas friends of mine, like a really good friend of mine back in high school, his mom's boyfriend was an accountant, and so he was paying my friend $50 an hour to do accounting, like junior accounting work, in high school. So he would work like a day on a Saturday, help out around the office, like doing legitimate accounting. He was legitimately, like, he's now an accountant and he was doing good work. getting paid $50 an hour, and then so he'd make, he did 7 hour day, he'd make $350, and that was buy a carton of smokes and have money for beer and whatever else over the course of the week, right? I didn't have someone who could give me that kind of thing. So an example of a privilege that he did not earn because he did not make his mommy and her boyfriend fall in love and do sex noises.
First off, I want to say thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Thank you to my patrons that support me on Patreon. I am a little streamer, and these people are all really awesome for supporting me. I try to put up stuff at least once a week, and I live stream every Saturday at noon Mountain Time on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, like an old man. Again, thanks for watching, and have a kick-ass day.